think at this point in time, maybe we can start things rolling. Kate, if you want to kick us off here, and then I can introduce the panelists.
Yes, thank you all for joining. I'm Kate Clark. I'm the Executive Director for the National Field Hockey Coaches Association, also known as NFHCA, which is a mouthful. But I wanted to first welcome everyone. I know we have prospective student athletes, we have high school club coaches, and probably some parents on here as well. I'm excited about the lineup of college coaches that we have tonight to share their wisdom and expertise. We're lucky to have their time. They are in season, as I'm sure you all are too, but excited to talk about the opportunities. One thing that I just wanted to make mention of is there is a place for student athletes to play field hockey in college if you want to, right? And so with 200 Division II and Division III programs combined, 82 Division I programs, almost 300 college programs. There's almost 11% of high school student athletes that end up playing field hockey in college. And that number may not seem like a lot, but comparatively speaking to other sports, when you look at volleyball, basketball, even soccer, 11% of high school athletes is a lot to move on. So I just want to kind of set the foundation and set the tone that should you really want to play, not everyone can play at the top 10 schools for Division I. I don't want to mislead there, but certainly there are plenty of opportunities across the country if you do want to continue playing in college. So I'll turn it back over to Lauren, but just wanted to share that and encourage you, if you do want to play, there's a place for you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Kate, for that introduction to the landscape there. I just want to take a second. I know I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, but my name is Lauren. I work for Sports Recruits, and my role here is to kind of be a liaison between our partnership with the NFHCA. And we partnered with the NFHCA a couple of years ago now, with the goal being to work directly with college coaches and the college coaching community to really create a better recruiting process for all of the members of the recruiting landscape: athletes, parents, clubs, high schools, event coordinators. We really want to create kind of a unified network where we can help student athletes understand a little bit more about what they should be doing in the process, while also hearing directly from college coaches on how they want to recruit and trying to build tools that create that environment for them. So I know you guys don't want to hear much from me. I have the pleasure tonight of introducing our awesome panel. So if we could just kind of go, I guess we'll go left to right from top to bottom. If you want to kick things off, Georgiana, name, position, school, tell me a little bit about your playing career, and then kind of like your current position as a coach.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm Georgia Holland. I'm the associate head coach at Northwestern University. This will be my 7th fall, or it is my 7th fall. And yeah, I grew up in New York. I was recruited and played college field hockey at Yale for 4 years. Had a year of eligibility left after those 4 years, and luckily got to play an extra year of college field hockey at Wake Forest. So kind of a double dip there for me. I coached at Wake for a year after that, coached at Michigan State for a couple years, and now I'm at Northwestern.
Awesome. Sorry, I just misnamed you, Georgia. My bad.
Oh, that happens all the time.
Emily, can we pass it along to you?
Hi, I'm Emily Dinsmore. I am the head coach at App State. I've been here this is my 8th season, so 6 years as an assistant, and this is my 2nd year as head coach. Prior to that, I was at Stevenson University for 2 years, coaching as an assistant there, and then I played at Liberty University. And fun facts, I actually started off as a lacrosse player there. And then we got field hockey my junior year. And so that's when my junior year I did both, and then my senior year I just did field hockey, and now it's my career. So I taught for a little bit right out of school, So I was teaching and coaching and now just coaching full time, and I love it.
That's awesome. Thanks, Emily. We'll pass it along to you, Julie.
Cool background, Emily. I didn't realize that. My name is Julie Munson. I played as a goalkeeper at the University of New Hampshire. And then after that, coached for 6 seasons down at James Madison in Virginia. Then 3 seasons at Harvard, and then this program, Division II program at Southern New Hampshire University, opened up. It hadn't been a program for many years. So basically, I started the program at SNHU in 2014. Yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. Victor, can you bring us home?
Everyone, I'm Victor. I'm the head coach at Bryn Mawr College, which is a small Division III liberal arts college outside of Philly. Starting my 9th year here, so June 2016, I got to Bryn Mawr. I was, excuse me, much more the mathlete than athlete growing up. So didn't have much in the way of a playing career. But when I went to Swarthmore for my undergrad, was a student assistant coach, and then have kind of been doing the small liberal arts college tour for a year as an assistant out at Denison in Ohio, and then 2 years up at Smith in Massachusetts as an assistant before the position opened up here at Bryn Mawr.
Awesome. I love it. I was a math major too, so I love the math side of things. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for introducing yourselves. Excited to have you all here tonight. I think to kick things off, I just put kind of some overall topics together so that we can dive into kind of what you guys have, your perspective on the recruiting process. And I think where I want to start is, as a college coach, how do you think about finding student athletes that are right for your program? And I think what I mean by that is, like, are you actively seeking out athletes at an event? Are you looking for student athletes to introduce themselves to you? I think kind of overall, just some general guidance for student athletes as they are approaching the events landscape, as they're entering their high school careers or continuing them, and sort of what they should be doing as they start out that process.
Do we have an order, or do you want anyone to
No,
jump in?
you can jump in. I'll pick people if you guys don't, if
Okay.
you guys don't want to come off mute and chime in, but I'd love for if you want to start.
For sure. So I think it's kind of a combination from my perspective of like us actively going to events, watching student athletes play, and kind of having them on our radar. That combined with high school student athletes reaching out to us and emailing us starting in 8th, 9th grade, keeping like that list of athletes and then eventually getting to go see them play as well. So I think it's a combination. The athletes on our current roster are probably a mix of, oh, we found them at some event, or they reached out to us and really made an effort and got on our radar themselves. So when I think about like, how do I think about finding student athletes that are right for our program, it's really like twofold. Are you the athlete that can fit in our team, and are you the person who fits our culture? So I think that's like a deep dive that we could probably go down, but I guess I'll leave it at that and let anyone else kind of jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think it's, you know, the student athletes that email us over and over again are always on our list, and we're always trying to make sure at tournaments that we're checking those boxes and making sure that we go see the student athletes that are reaching out to us. That's kind of something that we really want to really make sure that we get eyes on people that are emailing us first and foremost. And then from there, yeah, kind of like what you're saying, Georgia, is like as we're at those events, it's kind of those other intangible qualities probably. When I think about finding student athletes that are right for our program, I'm thinking about, okay, who's relentless, who's like tackling back, who is just like a gritty athlete, working super hard off ball for their teammates, and you can like see their rapport and like looking to see like their rapport between their teammates and their coaches and those types of little things too. So kind of starting to go down the what you were talking about and going in more of a deep dive, but those are just kind of like off the top, like what we are kind of thinking about as we go out recruiting.
I agree that it's a mix of people that we have been able to seek out on our team, as well as the ones that have reached out to us. But I will say I do get more excited about the student athletes that are reaching out to us, saying that they have already done their research and are very interested in our university. I think it's really important that when we're bringing student athletes into our program, that they first and foremost like the school and enjoy the campus without hockey. But that is hard to find. So that is why sometimes I'm more likely to communicate and seek out at events those people that have written to us first.
Yeah, and I think in general, like you're never going to go wrong as a student athlete by being proactive. And so, erring on the side of reaching out and initiating contact and absolutely like on all of our rosters, some of the athletes are, from maybe an initial evaluation where someone wasn't on our radar until we watched them. But I think by, waiting for that or expecting that to happen, it isn't always going to, and we might not be at the right game to see you, and so erring on the side of reaching out would be advice I'd give. I think so much is about alignment, right, between hockey style and culture, and there isn't one good or right or best way to do any of it. And so when we're looking for people who are meeting the hockey threshold or the right type of person who makes us us, it's I think sometimes hard to get super comparative with you and teammates or you and friends, because what every program might be looking for is slightly different, and it's not a right or a wrong. It's not someone better or worse. It's just who aligns with all the different pieces of the experience.
Definitely. I think that's important, As student athletes, you guys are just making a decision on where you want to go, and you want to make sure that you fit in with that program, just like these coaches here are making sure that you fit in with them as well. And I think like with something that I heard all of you say here is that outreach is really important. The research that a student athlete and their family do is really important. I guess when an athlete is reaching out, what is one like that preferred first way for them to reach out, and two, what is the most important information that they can include in that outreach? I see Julie smiling. So
Was looking for the mute button. I like an email with just details, but not a ton of details. Year of graduation to me is the most important, because then I know if I can respond back or how I can respond back, I guess. And then events that they'll be playing at. I don't need a lot of information, because once we establish some type of way to see them, like I'll go to a tournament and observe them, then we can start the communication process where I'll really want to know that person, their family, what they're looking for, and all the details. But yes, year of graduation, I'd say, is most important for me, and where we can see them.
And I guess I would add in, a potential academic interest can be really beneficial. It's also totally okay not to have the next 60 years of your life planned out, and so being undecided is fine. But if you have an idea of something you might want to study, that's helpful, again, just to make sure with the alignment piece from an academic side. And if you have a recent highlight video, including that as well, just as a starting point, even if you're letting us know that you'll be playing at a tournament that we're going to, that maybe 2-3 minute sneak peek of what we're going to see at the tournament is a great first impression.
I think also too, when you put your grad year like in the subject of the email, that's really helpful. Like putting like your name, like yeah, grad year, your club, like those types of things, like in the subject. Cause then as soon as I get that email, it's like, boom, okay, I know, this is a 2026 or 2025 or whatever. And that is helpful, like right off the bat. And then, yeah, I think it's like giving details, but keeping it simple. And then whenever you can add like film or add like even like I know some people do like a little one like here's a few things and here's like a photo. That can be really helpful too because now I have like a visual of who you are, and when I go to watch you play, I've seen like a picture, I've already seen film.
All right. I don't need to beat a dead horse about grad year or anything, but it is unbelievable how many emails you'll receive without a grad year. And then it's almost a useless email because like Julie mentioned, we don't know if we can respond or not. We don't know if it's a prospective student athlete who in a class that we still need anyone for. So that is very, very important. I will also say I think email is the easiest and it's definitely the most commonly used. Every now and then we'll get a handwritten letter, and in this day and age, snail mail really stands out. And I do think it, maybe not every coach's cup of tea, but every now and then I am always like pleasantly surprised to get something a little different.
Yeah, I love that. Creativity. Yeah, and I think in addition to all of the items that you guys outlined that are really important for an email to a college coach, I think another piece of that is you student athletes within this call most likely have an NFHCA Recruits profile. And I think like keeping that information up to date is also super important. The email outreach, the expression of interest is obviously crucial in the process or can be crucial in the process. But if you have all of your information up to date on your profile, video like Victor was mentioning, a photo like Emily said, so that coaches can understand what you look like. Having all of that stuff on your profile and maintaining that makes it so much easier for coaches because they are receiving a lot of emails from different student athletes. That you want to make it easier for them to keep track of who you are. All right, last really quick question. Not everybody has to answer here, but I always like to ask, is there anything that is like a red flag right off the bat in an email that you receive or in an athlete introducing themselves to you?
Personally, I'm not a fan of when we are CC'd and there's 20, 30 coaches on there, or when they say, Dear Coach Brady, when I'm Coach Munson. I'm really interested in Northwestern University when I'm not there. Yeah, so just those details make a really big difference for me.
Love it. Yeah, I think as a student athlete myself, that was the best advice that I got. Proofread your emails and make sure you are taking the time to actually research that school. If they don't have a nursing program, you don't want to include. I'm so excited to learn more about your nursing program. So really important. First impressions are very important. Cool. We'll move on to.
I think
Sorry, go
if I
ahead.
could just add,
Yeah,
I think the other
absolutely. Get it
mistake is
in.
that like people don't send something because they're so afraid of making a mistake. Like I think I'm
Sure.
very good with my communication. I've absolutely sent someone an email with the wrong name. And then
Yeah,
you just own it, right? Like we talk about all the time as coaches, hockey's a game of mistakes. So you mess up a name, acknowledge it, send a quick email follow up, and then we move on. It's pretending it didn't happen is maybe a little bit different.
absolutely. No, that's a good way to tie a bow on that. I think that's a great lesson across all parts of life. Because me too, I've sent the wrong email to the wrong person. We all do it. I'd like to move a little bit more into addressing kind of club high school coach space here. And I think I'm curious to understand sort of in an ideal world for you guys, what role a club and high school coach plays in helping a student athlete either get on your radar or continuing their recruiting process with you.
I can start. I think for us, speaking with club coaches or high school coaches really helps to fill the gaps on things that we cannot gather by just watching an athlete play. So especially like before our contact date, we are still allowed to talk to club coaches about general things. But really in particular, once we've started to like have actual contact with prospective student athletes, trying to learn from club and high school coaches about real like what they see as a prospective student athlete's leadership style, or what motivates them, or what they really think a given student athlete's aspirations are. Because it's really easy to just assume that every student athlete is super motivated and wants to play at the highest level. But getting a little bit more of like insight into their everyday, and I think coaches do a fabulous job of kind of knowing those things and helping college coaches get a good sense of those sorts of characteristics of a student athlete.
I think reliability and dependability, like consistency from day to day, is something that's really hard to see at tournaments. I think, as an athlete, it's really easy to get up for a 3-day tournament. It's maybe a little bit more challenging on a winter practice on a Wednesday, and you've taken a couple exams in school that day. And being a student athlete in college is hard. There's a lot on your plate at times, and so who are the athletes who are able to kind of lock in from session to session and have a consistent plan of attack for what they're working on, that even watching a single session or a tournament. So it's really hard to see. So kind of echoing what Georgia was saying about filling in the blanks that we just might not be able to see with our own eyes through the recruiting process.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like, it's so helpful to, like, I know something that I always ask, club coaches and high school coaches is like, talk to me about, XYZ's like character, and like, is she a good teammate? Like, kind of, yeah. I mean, basically everything that you guys are already saying, like filling in the blanks. And it's more like those kind of conversations of like, okay, how are they the type that is going to, take initiative? Are they putting in extra workouts? Are they getting, like, working outside of field hockey, like those kind of things? Like, what are some of these like character, like, yeah, character qualities, and then also just kind of like just like a work ethic is kind of like the main things that we are asking when we talk to club coaches and high school coaches.
Makes a lot of sense. Are there any, I think like I have another thing here, which is really along the same lines, but I guess I want to sort of flip this again and see if there's anything that is kind of like a red flag. I hate to continue to use that term, but like a red flag from the perspective of like a high school coach approaching you about an athlete, or club coach approaching you about an athlete, or something that they might do that is sort of not what you would like as someone who is communicating with club or high school staff.
I don't really see it that much, but I have at other universities seen it where club and high school coaches maybe promoted student athletes, saying that they were maybe better than they were in order to kind of get that student athlete to Division I, and almost make it look good for them in a way. I don't see that happening anymore really, but that's something that I think is just truly important, is just to be honest, because once you start a pipeline with a coach, that's really fragile and important. Like, you don't want to give the wrong information or lead people on in the wrong way.
Absolutely. If you guys don't have any more kind of commentary on high school and club staff role, I do want to kind of shift forward into talking a little bit more about events and video. And I think where I want to start there is, in the initial outreach introduction from athletes, we talked a bit about student athletes having a preview, a highlight reel on their profile. I'd love if each of you could kind of go through sort of what you look for in video from a recruit. Is there, a particular series of skills that you're looking at? Is it, what kind of stands out for you when you are watching film of a student athlete?
I think for me, one of the biggest things is looking for people to have vision when carrying the ball. I know that sounds really like simple, but I think it's like a really a big one of like is the ball, like keeping the ball on your stick while having like vision, and being able to do the simple things like really well, being able to distribute, being able to, once you distribute, lead ahead, and just doing like all of the simple basic hockey things at an elite level, because when you do like the little things really well, they add up to big things. And so I think that's why I started off with just like a simple, like having vision with when carrying the ball, because that is a simple little thing that goes a really long way in making your game from good to great, and being good at distributing and being able to see the field and having a good hockey IQ, all those things.
Mhm.
But yeah, so like the simple, like the little things like that, or that's just like one example, is something that I'm looking for in film.
Oh, go ahead, Georgia.
You sure? Okay. I would say, and this goes for like in-person evaluating as well.
Mm.
The first thing that I am looking for and we as a staff look for is just athleticism. So how does a prospective student athlete move? How quick are they? How mobile are they side to side? Because that's kind of just like a baseline thing for us. And once you kind of reach a threshold, then I'll start worrying about some of those intangible things that I think Emily mentioned earlier, where like if I'm watching video and the prospective student athlete makes a great play, eliminates 3 people, and then like whiffs the shot at the end or makes a pass and it gets turned over and they don't tackle back. It's really interesting to like watch what is included in some videos and what is not cut in videos, because you want to try to put yourself in the best light. And like a turnover with no reaction to like try to go get the ball back is like a really, in to use your words, a red flag for us. So I would say like make yourself look fast and athletic and like as quick and strong as possible, and then be really smart about picking clips that not only show like your basic skills and ability to like advance the ball forward, but I do think there's like really important pieces like how do you play defense? Like that's not included in videos very often, and I think that would like that really, if it is, it stands out. How you hustle back even on just like running down a fast break. So more of the intangibles would be kind of nice.
Think I'd add to that. I know you had asked earlier if we like full games. I prefer clips, like a highlight reel type thing, just to get a preview. So that way we know like, oh, let's put this person on our radar and go find them at an event. And I think it's really important. I know sometimes people will say, I'm the girl wearing number 8 with pink socks and I don't know, red something. I have a very difficult time knowing who that is. So just like a highlight or a circle around them. Sometimes we get videos without that. And I will just kind of reiterate that piece of the tackling back in the defensive part. You don't always see that. So adding that in there, I really do agree that that's a great way to stand out.
Because if I could take a slightly broader lens, what I'd encourage you to do as an athlete is think about like what makes you you. That if someone had never seen you play before, how would you describe your game?
Mm.
And then your highlight video is your 3, 4, 5 minute movie to tell the story of yourself as a field hockey athlete. And I think personal preference is I'd rather someone who's special at something than okay at everything. And so it's okay not to have like some of every single hockey skill in a game, I mean, included in a video. Like what makes you unique as a hockey player, and what are the things that are fundamental to how you play? Center those as you're telling the story of yourself.
That's great. I think we have a couple of questions in here that I also wanted to kind of hit on, to bring them sort of together. Are there differences in what you're looking for in film between an offensive and a defensive player? And then in addition to that, is there any advice that you guys would give to keepers on what film you need from them?
In terms of the field players, offensive versus defensive, I think at the age of like a high school student athlete, you should be doing both, right? Regardless of what position you play. So even if you're a forward, like I think it's really important to still make sure that you're focused on the defensive side of things, and including some of that in a video, I think stands out. I might let Julie answer the goalkeeping question, but I would just again reiterate, if I'm evaluating a goalkeeper, it's about athleticism to start, quickness side to side. And then hopefully there's some game film where we can see some decision making going on. So how do they handle a baseline entry, or a 2v1 fast break coming down the middle of the field?
Mm.
Yeah, I love to see repetitions, so some type of skill training or session just for the keeper with lots of shots. The athleticism piece is certainly important. And then, yeah, always great to have a few clips of game play as well.
Love that. I think a lot of game film comes obviously from events, so I do want to just kind of hone in on sort of that on-site presence for you guys. Is there anything in particular that a student athlete can do to stand out to you on the field at a recruiting event?
Kind of like what Victor was saying earlier, be yourself and play your game. I'd say don't worry about who's there watching.
Mm.
But I think a lot of us will agree that it's not just what you're doing when you're on the ball or on the field, but what you're doing off the ball, how you're supporting your teammates, how you're reacting to a poor call from an umpire if you happen to get a bad call, or how you react to your coach taking you off. It's all those pieces that add up, and I know oftentimes a highlight video may not show all of that, but those are the things that I'm looking for. It's barely what you do with the ball. It's really about off the ball for me.
Yeah, I think going back to what Georgia was saying, like too earlier about um just the overall athleticism and tackling back and hustling, like all of those like things. We talk a lot here about just being gritty and never giving up on a play. And so that immediately is something that just like jumps off the jumps out to me, like whenever I'm going to recruiting events and you see someone who's just like, you're like, whoa, that person is just like a workhorse. Like they're just all over the place. They're like giving it everything they got right now. And that is like the first thing that, really kind of sticks out when I'm at an event.
Go ahead, Victor.
There's a sports psychologist I liked. He talked about having athletes playing with two swords instead of with two shields, or with even a sword and a shield. And so it doesn't necessarily mean like being reckless and out of control. You can still be defensive with two swords, but there's like an innatness and what, grittiness, or we say, talons out at Bryn Mawr because we're the Owls. So, but that like locked in kind of on the field. And I think you can see that in kind of just like game engagement, and like people have said, how you're communicating with your teammates, how that like the next play mentality, the immediate positive response, that you're just like super engaged and in the flow of the game. That stands out. And just in terms of identifying you on the field, I think when you have a distinctive hairstyle, or you always wear pink shoelaces or something like that, it's really hard in a video if that's the only descriptor. But like on the field in a game, that it is sometimes with some of the jersey color combinations an effective way to help you stand out.
Love that. Just to flip it again, I want to be mindful of the time, because these coaches have given us their time in the heat of the season. So we've got about 5 more minutes here. So I'll just kind of do a couple of rapid fire things. I think on the flip side of that, is there anything that would make an athlete kind of stand out for you in a negative sense on the sideline of an event?
I would say like any interaction with their parents or coaches during the game where like they make a mistake and they're like, shut up, dad, or like you see some crazy stuff sometimes. And I think that's kind of like the opposite of what Victor's talking about, where they're like so locked in and so engaged in the game. Anytime you can like recognize that there's like external factors at play, that can be kind of a red flag. Yeah, that would be my number one answer.
Yeah, that makes sense. We also have a question in here that I want to throw out to the group. This goes back a little bit more to messaging and introducing yourselves. What can you expect back in terms of response as a freshman, a sophomore, a junior? I'm curious if, I know that the rules are a little bit different depending on your division. Curious if we could hear from a D1/D2 coach and then a D3 coach on that topic.
You want me to go? Okay. Yeah, so for Division 1, we can't contact you until June 15th going into your junior year. So we can send back a generic email that says, hello, we cannot contact you until June 15th going into your junior year. We are able to share like camps and clinic information, but that's pretty much the extent of it. We were able to share recruit questionnaires until recently. That's all not allowed anymore as of like, I don't know, that was like pretty recent. So yeah, so we can't really give any sort of response back to emails until that June 15th date.
I wish there was someone else here from Division 2, but I'm pretty sure I have it right. It's also June 15th of junior year that we can communicate. That includes phone calls, emails, and all that stuff. However, we can still respond at any time about the recruiting questionnaire and camps and clinics.
And for Division 3, when someone starts high school, they're a recruitable student athlete. And so there can be that, earlier communication with high school first years or sophomores. I think kind of early on in someone's high school career and college search, it's going to be, more spaced out communication, maybe periodic check-ins or updates, a little bit of just starting to get to know you, maybe inviting to camps and clinics. And then as sophomore, like getting into the second half of sophomore year and junior year, I'd say is like the prime time for the Division 3, recruiting timeline, and expecting a little bit more robust kind of back and forth and relationship building between you and the team and you and the school.
Awesome. I think that's really helpful, giving athletes some of those high level expectations, especially pertaining to the NCAA rules surrounding that communication. With the last question I'll ask here, and if anybody has any additional comments, feel free to make them at the end. But I think what I like to ask is, for athletes here who might be considering, if they want to continue pursuing this process, or maybe they are really deep in the process and they're getting ready to make that decision, what would you guys say to a student athlete is the best to kind of prepare them for playing college field hockey?
I would say make sure you're asking coaches who are recruiting you to be transparent and honest about what they see your role being on the team. That is something that we really pride ourselves in, because we don't want people showing up with expectations that don't meet reality. And it makes everybody's life a little bit more simple, I think, if everyone's kind of on the same page throughout the recruiting process.
That was really well said. I might also add to attend camps and clinics so you can get a really good feel of what a program might be like. And also sometimes you can play with current student athletes at those clinics, or I know in Division II we can have tryouts, but you can start to see what level that team is at or that program is at, and then get a good reality check if it hasn't been made clear in the recruiting process already.
Something for me, I think that is noticeable in some senses is like student athletes that have trained on AstroTurf versus not training on AstroTurf. And so obviously I know that's not possible all the time, but I think anytime you're able to get on AstroTurf and train on that surface is going to be beneficial for you when you go on to the next level. And then just with that, just trying to play high level hockey and trying to just challenge yourself and grow as a hockey player while you're in high school, because that'll set you up for success.
At the risk of getting too philosophical again, I would strongly encourage you as you're starting and working through the process to really dive into why you want to play field hockey in college and why that's relevant for you. And we could each give you dozens of reasons of why it's a transformational part of the college experience. But if those aren't relevant to you, like even at the Division III level, it's about a 450-hour-a-year commitment between all the training and athletic training time and team building, like all of it. And it's just a huge investment of time if you don't really know like why you're doing it, and not what your club coach thinks, high school coach, family, like, why do you want to play in college, and what are you looking to get out of the experience? And I think when you can tap into that, you'll find the right teams and coaches where your why aligns with their why and their culture. But it starts with knowing yourself and having actually intentionally thought about that part of it.
I think that was perfectly philosophical, and I think a good place for us to kind of leave things here tonight. Obviously, if any coaches have any final commentary, happy to give you that time. But I did just want to take this moment here to thank you all very much for all of your insight, for taking time again out of this specific time of year where you're going through season. It's incredibly busy for you all. You're coming off the field and joining a Zoom to share your insight. So I want to express my gratitude. And then for everybody here listening, this will be recorded. This was recorded, so we'll get that recording out to you tomorrow once we get everything settled up. So you can feel free to tune back in and listen to any answers that you might have missed.
Thank you. Thank you, coaches. Thank you, participants. We appreciate you guys joining us.
All right. I'll see you guys later. Thanks again.